My name is Pierre-Alexandre. I'm CEO and co-founder at Hexoskin. For those who don't know Hexoskin, we're the #1 smart clothing company for health monitoring in the world. We're also providing digital biomarkers, diagnostics, and artificial intelligence development services to pharma companies and government agencies. Today, my talk will focus on medical wearables and how they enable a new world of digital biomarkers, of course, but also how we bring these fundamental medical innovations to patients, which is very important. I'm also going to give examples of the work we're doing at Hexoskin to support pharma companies and research organizations. So medical wearables have been hugely successful in the past few years. Now, today, millions of patients use medical wearables for things like glucose measurements, ECG testing, to monitor vital signs and sleep and other things. These products are vastly better than 10 years ago. But there's one category that has offered only an incremental advantage over the previous decade. And it's everything related to long-term, continuous vital signs monitoring. So we're still basing these solutions based on adhesives. It's better, so the ECG patches, for example, are an improvement over the Holter ECG on the left. But patients still don't like the effect that these adhesives have on their skin. And it's still limited in terms of type of signals they can acquire. You see a lot of noise artifacts with these sensors as well. So it was not designed in a patient-centric view. And it's good for, let's say, 1 to 7 days monitoring, but it's not adequate for long-term continuous monitoring. And the device on the left, by the way, is a Holter ECG that was worn only for 24 hours. And you can see the amount of tape they still put on patients. This is still in use today. At Hexoskin, we designed smart clothing to monitor vital signs. Our access to the whole upper body gives us plenty of space to measure multiple vital signs in a natural way. Clothing is the most universal wearable form factor. All of you are wearing clothes today. Not every one of you is wearing a watch or a ring or another device like that. But we all get dressed every day. And for those who cannot get dressed themselves, someone can do it for them. And at lunch every day, everybody is wearing clothing. Our garments, Hexoskin garments, are made to the first layer on the skin and designed to be made invisible so patients don't have to show that they're being monitored or tested. It's also designed to not require any digital skills from users. All they need to know is how to use a shirt and how to charge a battery. And even that, we can take care of it depending on the protocol. So I'm wearing one of these shirts today under my dress shirt. And you don't see it if you've talked with me before today. You probably have not noticed it. This shirt captures high-resolution data about my heart rhythm, my breathing patterns, and gait, and relays that information to my smartphone, to my account in the cloud. And I can make that information available anywhere in the world right now to anybody with a need to know. So patients can wear these shirts on a daily basis as needed to produce the evidence needed for their care or clinical research. They can wear it when they do physical activities. When we put an ECG patch on a patient, we tell them, please don't exercise because sweat will make the patch fall down. And please don't shower with the device because it's not good for the adhesive. With a smart shirt, it's not a problem. You want to shower, you can take it off, take your shower, 10 minutes after you can put it back. And sweat is definitely not a problem. So we have also invented the Hexoskin, the most comprehensive wearable vital signs monitor system in the world. In addition to heart rhythms and breathing patterns, this wearable research platform monitors PPG, SpO2, blood pressure continuously, and skin temperature. So this is really, we took 5 vital signs and we've put it in a format that was wearable, where your hands are free. You can still do your daily activities. You don't wear anything on your nose or mouth. So this product has been used by well, dozens of research groups, of course, but also with Chris Hemsworth in the show Limitless with Chris Hemsworth on Disney+. If you have kids, you probably have Disney+. This is a good show to watch about health and technologies. The Hexoskin product is also being used in the International Space Station. We've done 14 missions so far, and we support 4 clinical research projects in microgravity in the space station. So this is, in a way, this is also digital biomarker development, but for human spaceflight. And we've done earlier this month our first suborbital flight with astronaut Katie Girardi with the Virgin Galactic 5 mission that flew from New Mexico. So this was the first time that the Hexoskin system was used for launch, adaptation to microgravity, and then landing. Because in the ISS, we only use it inside the space station. So now all of this is super fun, but let's come back to our subject, medical wearables and digital biomarkers. So one thing that I'd like to point out is that we tend to separate digital biomarkers measured with mobile apps or wearable devices from lab work and imaging. But the way we see it is we talk about the traditional biomarkers and digital biomarkers the same way. We use them for the same objectives. We use them for diagnostics, for prognosis, for disease management, for clinical trial endpoints. So if you can use it for diagnostics or measure the effects of a therapy, it's medical evidence. And medical evidence is medical evidence. And sometimes we think that because a biomarker is very cheap to produce, if you use a mobile app or a medical wearable, it must be less valuable. But it's not the case. The value is in the data. If it's cheap to collect it, and if you can collect it from the patient's home, well, this is even more interesting. So the value of this biomarker is not related to the technology. It's related to the questions they can answer. And I really liked one of the talks before that was putting the finger right on this. When we think about digital biomarkers or using medical wearables in a care setting or clinical trial setting, we first have to think about the questions we need to answer and the data needed to answer these questions before we even think about medical wearables and technology. So there are good news, though, for digital biomarkers, that the markets for digital biomarkers, which can be algorithms or measurements, and medical wearables, is going to grow very fast over the next decade. So these analysts predict that the market for medical wearables and digital biomarkers is going to double about every 3 years for the next 10 years. This is tremendous, it's incredible growth, and much faster than the traditional biomarker market that's in the top left of this slide. So billions will have to be invested in developing these new medical wearables and digital biomarkers. So it's a very exciting time to be in that field. That being said, getting from idea to FDA market approval is a long road. There are many challenges. You need to develop products. It needs to be ready for manufacturing before you start collecting data. But if we approach the development of these devices like we do for other traditional biomarkers, with similar scale and investment, we can capture the growth opportunities we saw on the previous slide. At Hexoskin, we currently work with pharma companies and research hospitals on dozens of projects to get new digital biomarkers to patients, and I've found ways to make this process more efficient, to cut years in the R&D process. Now, for a long time, we knew that there was a need for a better software platform to support biomarker development and clinical research with medical wearables. In many cases, we saw companies using one software to collect data from wearables that was not made by medical wearable companies, and then another software to interface with another system. And then you end up with a clinical trial with 4 different vendors just to collect a single data point. And we thought that's not right. And we understand the need of pharma companies. We've been in this business for a long time. We understand how CROs work. We understand how clinical sites work and what they need to train their staff and explain to the patients how to use these systems. To monitor, to onboard participants, to monitor compliance, to monitor data quality. We understand all these things, so we did something about it. And I'm pleased to announce this week that we're officially launching the new Hexoskin OneView platform for clinical research. So this was years in the making. We think OneView is the best solution for R&D with Hexoskin wearables, but also third-party wearables. It allows you to manage cohorts of participants, calendars, monitor data quality and compliance, use study templates, standardized questionnaires for PROs and data reports. You can clone studies easily to create new study arms. You can export all data to other systems like R or SAS for biostatistics. And the tools are available both for our Hexoskin wearable and our Astroskin wearables, and allows for third-party device data. The platform also includes an app for participant-reported outcomes, patient-reported outcomes, and participant task management. All of this, that platform, the Hexoskin OneView platform that we're launching this week, it's already being used today by research organizations and pharma companies to run real clinical trials with a decentralized component. So most of the time, patients will be recruited on a site, but what we want to do is do most of the data collection in between site visits, and the platform allows that. So far, we're getting really good feedback. The product is ready from prime time. If you're interested, please visit our website on hexoskin.com/OneView to join our waiting list and access a demo account. One more thing about that platform. It can also be used for any health program you want to design. If you're a provider, you can use the platform to code any, for example, any post-acute care program or rehab protocol on OneView and monitor patient compliance to these programs using the platform. Now I'm going to give you a few examples of biomarker development projects we've been involved in at Hexoskin. So the first one is a project we're doing with the Princess Margaret Cancer Center in UHN. We're onboarding a few hundred patients who are going through palliative oncology treatments. And we're developing new biomarkers to better estimate their lifespan and their quality of life during the palliative treatments. It's, to be honest, we have not designed the product for oncology or many of the applications that people use our platform for today. But I think it's a good example of how when you can monitor cardiovascular biomarker and respiratory biomarkers, you'll find out that it doesn't apply only to heart disease and respiratory diseases. It can apply to rare diseases, neurological diseases, any disease that has an effect on these systems. We have another study in Montreal studying biomarkers to predict epileptic seizures. In that study, patients come in the hospital for 14 days. They are under observation. They are people with frequent seizures. And we've recorded hundreds of seizures in the hospital using that system. And we're getting ready to deploy the system in the patient's home now to collect more data. This is a very large study that has been running for many years now, and it's going to collect more data for many, many years to come. An example of rare disease that's not that rare is MECFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome. We've been working on chronic fatigue syndrome since 2017, 2018. Chronic fatigue is a syndrome that is usually triggered by a viral infection. Sadly, with COVID, the population of patients affected by this disease has increased. The problem is that even if, from our estimates, in North America, millions of patients are affected with that problem, there's still no clear, objective diagnosis for the disease, which complicates access to care, complicates insurance coverage, And it also complicates how you develop therapies for it. Like many rare disease, if you don't know how to objectively measure the progress of the disease or just to diagnose the disease, how are you going to design a clinical trial? What's the target? How are you going to measure efficacy if you don't have that? So designing biomarkers for rare disease is extremely important in our quest to develop therapies for these diseases. Of course, our product have a unique feature, which is they can measure breathing rate continuously and breathing patterns, not only breathing rate, but breathing patterns. A lot of products claim they can measure breathing rate with an adhesive patch, for example, but usually as soon as you move, you lose the signal and you don't get good breathing rate readings. With Hexoskin, we measure thoracic and abdominal breathing, which gives you very precise, very accurate measurement of breathing patterns. And we've been working with the COPD Foundation and research centers in Europe, Canada, and the US with COPD patients for over 7 years now. And a last one, so in the past few years, we've been involved more and more into pediatric research and rare disease research. This is one example. We've been working with the Rett Syndrome Foundation and many hospitals in the US. I didn't put all the logos, but we're working with 8 different hospitals, recruiting patients for that genetic disease. There's just a few thousand patients in the US who suffer from Rett syndrome. So recruitment for trials is challenging. So we need to deploy these studies in multiple sites. And with the help of these shirts, we're building the largest database in the world of physiological data for kids with the Rett syndrome. And well, I cannot disclose everything right now, but we've been working with pharma companies on very promising therapies for the disease. So I could show you 100 more examples. And while we're still a small company, Hexoskin is still a small company, there's already over $100 million invested by our clients and partners in projects developing biomarkers on the Hexoskin platform. And we hope that the Hexoskin OneView platform for clinical research will increase that investment into new digital biomarkers and that it will help improve access to therapy for millions of people. So if you're a pharma company, if you're doing health research, please reach out. Hexoskin might, and if you're a pharma company, Hexoskin might be able to contribute funding to your project. We have access to a lot of funding sources that can support projects, but we need pharma companies to lead these projects with us.